So, quick question. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought something was going to cost one price, but then at the end of the day, it ended up costing more than you had bargained for, right? More than you had budgeted for. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But I'm going to be talking to you, my business owners. And even if you're not a business owner, this is something that you can take some tips from as well, right? So I am Erica the Design Diva. My purpose is to make you pop on paper and shine online, okay? I help brands show up professionally and purposefully online and in print, right? So what we're talking about today is your pricing strategy is definitely just as important as the way that you are setting your costs. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of both of those, and I'm going to give you a little story time as well, okay? Because I'm a storyteller, all right? I create and I tell stories, all right? So stories that are true, all right? So I recently was I had worked with an individual, right? When I worked with an individual, we had a mutual connection, and it was like, hey, oh, my friend does this service right here. So I was like, okay, you know what, I need that service. So I was like, all right, connect me with your friend, connected with the friend and the service provider. When I talked to them, and since this was something that was just person to person, we didn't do any contracts, we didn't do any invoices, none of that. It was just like a direct payment type of situation, all right. So I'm like, all right, when you send me, let me know what the price is. Please include everything. All right. Because I just want, I'm working the budget out for this particular project. So I want to make sure, I have everything. Everything is everything. Right. And of course, when you give me a price quote, that's going to determine, that's one of the things that will determine whether I'm able to utilize your services or not, because I have a budget in mind. Right. Cool, no problem. So said service provider gives me a quote. And again, it's very informal, just by text message. Hey, the total is going to be this, right? Cool, no problem. I was like, that's decent. We can handle that. Let's get you taken care of. So send the funds up front, no problem. Everything goes well. Project gets done. Day of the project, service provider says, you know what? The stuff that I had to purchase costed a little bit more than I expected. So I need you to give me like a little bit more. I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and go with it. Even though it's the day of, you know what I'm saying? It's the project is going on right now. Let's go ahead and get you taken care of. Because again, I'm a businesswoman. I understand, sometimes things are a little bit off. Now, just to put a pin right there, I have lost money on projects before, because if I quoted someone something with, barring mistakes, like for real mistakes, um, I have taken a pay cut if I did not properly price things out. Okay. And it is what it is. Okay. So back to the story. Day of, I send the extra funds that the service provider asked for. Cool. No problem. We're good to go. Project is done. Few days later, I get another message that says, hey, I did not get paid for the services I provided. What you paid for was only for the goods that I provided. That was only for the materials and the goods. I really only, I didn't really make what I should have made. Listen, that disturbed me, kind of all up in here, all in my chest and in my spirit, right? And that's because I'm like, when we originally talked and I asked you to include everything because I had to, prepare my budget for this project, that you're coming back days later after the project is done and everybody's happy, and now you're doing adding something on top. All right. So that actually happened, that just recently happened to me. And this actually inspired me to go come on and share with you, if you are a business owner, service provider, even if you do products, when you have a price out there, be upfront about it. Be upfront about everything. Okay. Oh, I didn't tell you. I did get that service provider. I paid what they asked. Okay. I did. So I don't want y'all to think that I was, I went off, and I was very professional about it, but I did let them know that's not how you do business. Anyway, so what I want to let you know, as a business owner and as a consumer, make sure that you have things, done the right way. Now, me as a business owner, I knew better. Even though this was a person to person exchange, I know that I should have had in writing, even if it was just a text message that said, this amount includes XYZ. When she said the total is this, right? I should have said, okay, just confirming that I sent you this amount of money, or I'm sending you this amount of money, which covers this XYZ. Neither one of us did that. Okay. And again, look, we all watched Judge Judy and all the judge shows and all that, right? So we know having stuff in writing is like very important. If you are a real business, you definitely want to have stuff in writing, even if it's a person to person. I think it's always helpful to have it in writing. Okay, so even though verbally I asked for the total to be included for the service provider, they're coming back and saying, oh yeah, it didn't include that. Even though I asked for that verbally, we didn't have anything in writing, so I didn't have any proof. So that is why I went ahead and took care of that balance, and said, hey, do better business in the future. But I also, as a consumer, need to do better as well to be clear on what I'm getting for that price quote. All right. So moving right along, that was my 2 cents. That's what I wanted to share with you as far as the pricing structure. All right. Do If you're not doing all inclusive, if you're not doing all inclusive pricing, like some things are not all inclusive. Some things are hourly. That's fine, but be upfront with whatever it is. If there's going to be some additional cost, let the person know that. As a consumer, it's your responsibility as well to make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting. All right. So I know, for instance, again, one of my examples that I would give is that I'm doing a banner special. So the vertical banners that you just pull up, and it's like for the business promotions, right? When you do your in-person events, for those, I'm doing a quarter 1 special for 2026. All right. So with that special, I have an all-inclusive price, and it says one-time investment. It's all inclusive, right? You get your banner, your shipping, your tax, everything's included. My design fee is included. So I'm not coming back and saying, hey, I know you paid for it, but that was just for the banner. I need to get my design fee with payment. And I'm definitely not coming to you after the fact, after you've gotten it, used it at your event and all that stuff, and saying, hey, I need you to give me another $75 because, for whatever reason, I can just make it up. Be upfront with your pricing, all right? And make sure that if it's all inclusive, say that. If not, be straight about it. The next thing I want to do is just shift into, like, for anybody who is questioning, how do I price my stuff then? Erica Design, how do I know how to price my stuff? And this is something I had to learn years ago, and I'm grateful for God connecting me with the right people who were able to guide me into charging what I was worth. Okay, and it's an amazing feeling when you know that you're getting compensated for what you work. Now, do I give some things? Do I, do I donate my services sometimes? Absolutely. However, I'm still in business to be in business, not just in business to give everything away. All right. So that's a bonus tip right there. Okay, you're not in business just to give all of your services away. You are in business to make a profit. So, three things that I'll tell you, that three tips that I would say you can do in order to come up with your pricing, the cost of everything, what you should charge people. So one of the things that I definitely utilized was actually tracking my hours. So for about a month, and this has been a lot of years ago, but for about a month, what I did is I tracked the number of hours I was putting in on creating things. And once I tracked my hours, I was able to say, you know what? I'm working on these projects and I'm making $2.37 an hour. So once you track those out, once you track your hours and you see how, do the calculations, use a calculator. You don't have to do it in your head. You don't have to use pencil and paper. Use your calculator. How many hours have you spent? How much did you charge? And then you'll see what the average is of how much you are making per hour. And again, even if it's your passion, you're not giving away for that's not even like barely a fraction of minimum wage. Okay, so that was one thing that helped me. So tracking your hours and then calculating what your hourly profit is. The second thing that I did was to actually not just track the hours I spent doing whatever it is, but my actual prep time. Okay. So it was not just the hours that I spent creating a flyer, or whatever. Or for me, I would say, when I started creating courses, I was charging for the course because I'm like, okay, the course is like, my first course that I did was Web Queen training, where I train ladies how to create their own websites using WordPress, right? It was a 6-week class, and the class was 2 hours each time, right? So I was like, okay, so that's 6 weeks times 2 hours, that's 12 hours. So, okay, if I charge this much and I have this many students, then I'm making, all right, okay, and I did it like that, and I'm making minimum wage. But what I had to go back and do is say, you know what? The class wasn't just, I didn't just get on and just start talking. I had to prep. I had to say, okay, these are the things I want to teach. I had to go through and say, okay, get set up my samples, set up the examples. I had to set up the emails to go out, the text message reminders. So all of that time spent preparing, that all went into that project, right? I'm just saying project, but that all went into creating the course. So don't discount the things that you're doing in order to prep, and also don't discount any tools that you're using. All right. So if you're paying for a platform, a teaching or a course platform or whatever, remember that needs to be part of what you're looking at when you are calculating your final profit. All right. So that's the two things so far you want to look at. You want to look at the number of hours that you spend doing the thing, and then the number of hours that you spend prepping things. Okay. So those are two things. The third thing that I would say to look at, is to make sure that you are charging what you're worth. I'm gonna break this one down, okay? So when I say charging what you're worth, just to give an example, another mini story time. I just celebrated 25 years on my job, right? My 9 to 5 job. With that being said, in year one, they didn't pay me the same hourly rate they did in year five. And even now, year 25, I'm not getting the same hourly rate that I was getting in year 5, 10, or 15, right? So even in your business, well, I'm sorry, the reason they do that is because I have more experience now. And of course, they say cost of living adjustment and all that. They can't keep up with the cost of living, whatever. But with those adjustments, it's because I have more experience each year. I don't know how long you've been in your business, or not even been in your business, but I don't know how long you've been doing what you've been doing. But don't pay yourself entry level. Take into account, if you've been doing what you've been doing for 5 years. Listen, don't pay yourself like you in year one, because you have 5 years of experience. Give yourself a promotion even within your business, okay? So take that into account as well when you're saying, okay, this is what my profit needs to be, because again, I did my first website almost 30 years ago. Now at this point, so how in the world, how in the world would I accept to get paid minimum wage when I have almost 30 years of experience creating websites? Okay. Now, I'm not, now you might not have 30 years in, but remember, don't pay yourself entry level if you're not entry level. Okay. So, three things that you want to do when you're considering how to price your services. Number one, consider the hours that you are actually spending doing whatever that service is, or creating that product if you're a product based business. The second thing is to make sure that you are considering the time that you spend preparing, also any cost that you incur, whether it's software, materials, all those things. Make sure that you consider those things when you are coming up with your final profit. The third thing is to make sure that you pay yourself based on the experience and expertise that you have. Okay. Don't pay yourself minimum wage if you have multiple years of experience. All right. So hopefully this is something that helped you. I wanted to just come on and share this, and share the story time, and just seeing that as business owners, just sometimes we're in the wrong, but as consumers, sometimes we're also, we're responsible as well. Okay, so hopefully this helped you. Let me know if anything of this resonated with you, especially if you're a business owner or a consumer. Okay, And the last thing that I'm going to say before I jump off here is I'm going to put this in the comments, right? But these are the kind of tips. You know how I just gave you 3 tips of how you can when you're what how to consider and figure out what pricing to charge for your products and services if you're a business. These are the types of tips that my guests will be providing on the Boss Moves broadcast. Okay. And yes, I did have to end it with a call to action. Boss Moves broadcast, I just launched 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. I just launched. And listen, it's all about sharing real tips, real actionable steps that you can take in your business. And again, it can be helpful for consumers as well to understand how things work, how things tick. But it's specifically geared toward businesses, just helping you level up your game as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And it's going to be from different angles, from different industries. The first episode we talked about finances. Okay, so this is something that could help business owners and consumers alike. All right. So again, I'm putting the link in the comments so that you can check that out. If you would like to be a guest, use the link. If you want to make sure that you don't miss an episode, use the link. If you want to get the replays of, just in case you miss when it live streams, use the list. All right. That's it. That's all I have for you today. Again, hopefully this was helpful and eye-opening for somebody. Until next time, remember that you don't choose what happens to you in life, but you do choose how you respond and react to everything. Until next time, I am Erica.